What's going on, everybody? Chaseontwowheels here at Mountain Motorsports in Roswell. In front of us, we have the final bike in the 650 class, the Honda CBR 650R. As you can see on the side, it is the most expensive bike in the class, which hypothetically should make it the best one of the class, which is why I'm doing it last. I didn't want to mess up. Josh is going to be helping me do my signals today. Anyway, this is going to be what we're riding today. I am very excited for it, and we can start now.
We're sorry, they're literally cutting a tree down. So if the audio is terrible, that's why. Also, there's a yellow McLaren yes. So we're gonna do an interview with the McLaren. I'm just kidding. Sorry for the terrible audio. We'll do better next time. If they're not cutting a tree down. Okay.
CBR 650R, most expensive bike in the class. The one I think is probably going to be the best, but it also costs like $1,000 more than the closest other model. Notes before we get started. Oh my God, it is still cold. I am still marshmallow mode. The seat reminds me of the... Josh, you get away from me. I know you. I know you. The seat is very much reminding me of the Ninja 650. Clearance-wise, I can flat foot, but just barely. This seat is a bit higher than the other bikes in the class. Okay. Oh, clutch. Where's the clutching gauge? There it is. I do not fit on this bike very well, and I'm not a huge fan of the clutch. I've got to say in the beginning of this video, if you guys are in the market for a motorcycle and you are in the North Georgia area, make sure to click down below. I've got you guys special pricing at Mountain Motorsports. They can save you money if you're looking for motorcycles. As I fix these mirrors, woo, those mirrors are effing terrible. Those are borderline pointless mirrors. Those things need to get ripped off. Alright guys, we're on the 2019 Honda CBR 650R, the only inline 4-cylinder of this class. The other bikes are rocking out twin engines, so we're going to have a very different engine characteristic here, and from the get-go, I can already tell that. I'm coming into this expecting this bike to be the best in the class, and so far, this is one of the most, pointless clutches I've ever used in a motorcycle. I can't even... There's no resistance in this clutch. I can't tell where it's engaging or not. Not a fan of that at all. It is that inline 4. You're going to have to rev it up to get some power. You can already tell that. So guys, this thing kind of is leading this class. It's the most expensive. It has the most horsepower. It doesn't have the most torque. It's actually tied with the SV for torque. And because of the different engine characteristics, I imagine this bike is going to ride totally differently. Already I can tell just by being on the bike for a few minutes, I can already tell that this is going to push more towards that super sport style riding. I'm a little farther forward on it, not as far forward as I was on the SV, because you know that had like a cafe racer-y body position. So you're not as far forward, but you are kind of in a slightly attacked position. With both my hands on the handlebars, my top half is leaned up a little bit, and my legs are kind of like a halfway between crunched up. Like, you know, they're not poised like a Super Sport is, but they're definitely not in a relaxed position. You know, it's racy. It's definitely racy. That dog in the mirror, that's hilarious. There we go. Okay. This position is relatively comfortable and all. The seat, you know, I said it reminds me of the Ninja 650, but now that I'm on it and I'm in the riding position, I can scoot up a little bit. I can scoot back a little bit. So it's not quite as bad as that Ninja 650 was, because that thing, I was stuck in that seat. I couldn't move. So at least for that. And the passenger seat on this bike, it's not as high up. So I do have a little of space to scoot back some to get in a more race position. But the thing I'm noticing is this bike is kind of making me feel like I'm on a Super Sport, but then the engine isn't quite there like a Super Sport would be. You know, I don't have that super high revving. I have like a medium revving. So the bike has set me up to want a Super Sport experience, but the engine isn't really super sporty. You know, hopefully that makes sense. It's weird. My body wants the Super Sport experience. My brain's expecting it, but then I'm not getting it. Also, I'm noticing an odd amount of shaking on the foot pegs, like far more than I would expect for a bike like this. Also, why is the turn signal so far down, man? I can legit barely reach it. Woo! Shit! That rear tire touched that white line, and holy crap, that started sliding around. That was terrifying. Okay. Noted, it is in the 30s. Have to be careful with that. Maybe the tires are not warmed up yet. Holy crap. Flicking the bike back and forth, I kind of feel like all the other... Wow, we are going slow, fam. Flicking the bike back and forth, the bike's got some weight to it. It's not too bad getting it leaned over, though. I don't know what that dude was doing. Okay, cool. Why are people driving so slow today? Oh, so guys, this is the first ride I've done on a Saturday in what I think I can remember. So traffic might be a little odd today. Trying to figure out where the power is coming on this bike, and it's kind of weird. You know, we get high up in the revs, and I don't get a lot of engine braking. Yeah, it's definitely, you can tell it's got that inline 4 power. You give it some throttle and it spools up, and once the revs get caught up to you, eventually you can start getting into that power band, and it'll start picking you up. What I imagine is this bike is going to be far better than the other options that I've ridden on the highway. Inline 4s do super well on the highway because you're already going at speed and you're already in that rev range. You know, you can click down a gear and you can go. So I'm imagining that's where this bike is going to feel really well. And also on the highway, the clutch doesn't mean as much on the highway. So so far, the clutch is probably the most terrible part of this motorcycle. Looking at the dash while we're stuck at this red light, you know, we were talking about on the SV650X that the dash looked, you know, just like carryover from another bike, when that whole bike it should have looked, you know, cohesive with the dash. This is an option for, this dash doesn't look anything crazy fancy, but it looks newer, and it looks like all the numbers and stuff have like a really cool look. So this dash realistically is basically the same dash as the one on the SV, but I like this dash way better. It doesn't seem as cluttered as the SV dash, and it's also super tiny. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this dash, but if I had to compare this dash to the SV, I'm definitely going to go with this dash. I love that things are just, you got little sectors. We got time, speed, temperature. We've even got a gear gauge in the middle. God, I hate that clutch so much. You have no idea how much I hate that. It just feels like the clutch literally feels pointless to pull it in. And I promise you I'm going to use the horn on accident before the end of this video. So far, transmission feels, kind of alright. Not a huge fan of it. I don't have a lot of clickiness going on. Blinkers feel good though. Blinkers have a good click at the end of it, so I know I don't even have to look, and I know I've got it, and I know I turn it off. So I passed the controls. Honda controls are always solid. We've got massive freaking buttons. I would rotate all these back if I could a little bit. Like I said, the blinkers are a little too low for me. If my clutch is up here, I can barely, look at that, I can barely get to the blinkers. Yeah, I don't like the amount, actually I don't like the lack of feeling that I'm getting out of this clutch at all. Sorry to keep harping on the clutch, guys, but I'm not a fan. I don't know if there's a real upgrade. You guys can let me know in the comments if you really don't like the clutch on a bike. What do? I'm not really sure what you do. Do you buy a new clutch or a new clutch pack, or you have to give some comments down below. So if somebody's looking into this bike and if it ends up being the clutch is the only bad part, can they upgrade that? All right, guys, 2019 Honda CBR 650R on the highway. I think the inline 4 will do well. I can see look at the tack now. I can see that way better. Let's see what we can go after. Holy crap, there's a lot of cars on the highway. Let's find that thing. All right, this is gonna take a minute because there's a lot of cars and we have to be safe. 650 highway, let's go. It's got to pick up for a second, but it'll get you there. Hey, we found him. What's up, Gray, whatever you are? Wow, as expected, dude. I told you guys, these inline 4s, when you get them on the highway, you got way more of a windscreen here. We've got a more attack position. I wasn't even sitting all the way back. The other bikes feel like they capped out where this bike is in 5th gear. Man, these bikes are just made for higher speed stuff. That is what it is. I don't even have to get into 6th gear before I know that this bike is solid. It does take a second for that power to hit, but look at that. Super solid on the highway, man. You go down into 5th, I'm going, what, 7th grand RPMs? Give it. Takes a second. I got to get it about 8,000 before I can really start feeling that power, but ample on the highway, dude. Getting into commuter status here, just kind of sitting up, got one hand on the handlebar. This is I'm going to drive for half an hour to get to work. The wind's hitting me right here, the bottom of my helmet. Ideally, it would hit me a little higher, but with this windshield, I can tuck down. The wind is going straight over my head. So far on the highway, this bike is going to be far better than the other two options in the class. The SV probably being the most non-commuter friendly, and this being on the opposite end. If you commute a lot and you're looking for a 650, I'm gonna push you really hard on this guy. Not only that, but this is probably the only bike in the class that you can really have fun on the highway with. All right, let's prep up, get off the highway. Man, good showing. Good showing for the highway, for the CBR 650R. I tell you, man, when you're riding a motorcycle and you get that motorcycle into the condition that it is made to ride in, it just feels so much better. Let's see what it feels like leaning over. Yeah, this bike feels good in all the situations you would expect a bike that's a super sport to feel good in. So it's the highway, high speed, the leaning the bike over, it feels stable and good. It feels solid. And the faster I go on this thing, the more technical riding I do on it, the more it feels like at home in those scenarios. If we're gonna look at this bike as more of a super sport and less of like a 650 class bike, I mean, that's what it is. That's exactly what this bike is. It's a super sport with a 650 engine. Leaning the bike over is where it feels solid. The power does take a minute to kick in, you know, but I'm coming into it with a super sport mentality. So yeah, I've definitely found where this bike belongs, what it was made to do. Yeah, feels so good, dude. You lean this bike over and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it's supposed to be doing. This is definitely your sport-focused motorcycle for this class. That's very interesting that we've got 3 bikes in this class. We've got the SV650X, we've got the Honda CBR 650, and we have the Ninja 650. And looking back on all 3, now having ridden all of them, I can see a clear difference between every single motorcycle. And honestly, that's the best way to come into a class when all the bikes have their own purpose. This car's not going to get in front of me, are they? Okay, cool. Just double checking. Let's check the brakes out. Yeah, brakes are good. Brakes might be the best in the class. Clutch, God, for a super sport level bike, that clutch should be so much better. Oh my goodness, I don't know how to feel about the clutch because of where this bike sits. Like a pointless lever pull. This is the bike you get. You come into a turn, you just full faith, lean in. Let the bike just guide you through that turn. This is the bike you get if you're looking for a 650. Downshift, come into a turn, pull through. Man, yes. Yes, fam. Brakes are good. They are not super sport level brakes. Be ready for that. But they should be capable of doing what you need it to do. Now with inline fours and doing wheelies, you got to get those revs way on up. So I don't even know if I'm gonna play that game. Yeah, and they're aggressive as shit. I do not like doing wheelies on inline fours. Never mind. What I do like doing on them is leaning them over, because Lord Christmas, they feel good. Nice job, Honda. Nice freaking job. The nice thing about this engine characteristic is once you get it in first gear in the rev range, you then have the ability to down and upshift, whatever you got to do to keep those revs high. And when you do that, you can get some really nice acceleration out of these things. I guess you can do that in the parallel twins as well, but I don't know. When it's down low, it's instant. Whereas with the inline fours, you got to work for it a little bit, but once you get there, you're fine. You gotta do some work on the engine braking though. It's this bike is not gonna be one of those bikes that you can engine brake the vast majority of the time. You're gonna be using a lot of brakes, but I mean that's kind of rider preference anyway. Some people don't even like engine braking, so I can't even talk to those people. God, I cannot I cannot use this clutch. It is so not good for me. It's not good for me. Oh man, good stuff. As long as you're in a position where you can lean this bike over, man, you are going to enjoy it. But you know, then again, just riding it kind of chill. One thing it is nice about that 650 engine is you've got a very tame motorcycle. You can ride like this if you want to. Seat's really comfortable. I can just chill and ride around with no problems. And if I'm, you know, not smooth on the throttle, it's not going to throw me around. You know what I mean? Like if I just give it too much, it's nothing major if I'm not in the right revs. So I'm in fourth gear going 4,000, kind of chilling on city streets. No big deal. You know, I can give it more throttle and it'll catch up and then go. You know, right when I let off the throttle there, it looked like about 6,000 RPMs. I could feel the revs getting into the right spot where all that power is. So this bike just consolidates the power in the rev range to a certain area. So all you got to do is ride in that area if you want to ride fast, and be outside of that area if you just want to kind of chill. I like that. I like that a lot. Overall, you know, just riding this bike around, it feels like a really solid package. Everything seems like tidied up and just really on the point. And other than the clutch, you know, even the brake. Oh, that's interesting. Something I noticed on the SV, like right at the end of the first try, I didn't even notice it the whole time, and the Honda does the exact same thing. Look, the brake is an adjustable lever and the clutch isn't. Why are we doing this, guys? Why can I not have an adjustable on both sides? Also, you know something else I've noticed? So the clutch sucks, but getting into gears, it hasn't been a trouble getting into neutral or anything like that. But I do notice that we don't have a ton of feeling in the gears. Like there's a smidge of a click. I've told you guys, when it comes to transmissions on bikes, I want it hard. When I click, I want to hear a tick. You know what I mean? And I only get the slightest bit of a click when I shift in to the different gears. So it's a solid looking transmission. I haven't had it kind of like fall around, where if I try to go from first to second, it falls into neutral. Haven't had anything like that, but I kind of want a little more feedback. The steering on this bike is very reminiscent of a Super Sport. When I say that, it doesn't just fall in, but you get it leaned over, and once it gets leaned over, it's just locked in and will go. We're gonna, what's today? Today is Saturday. We should still be able to use our old church parking lot. Yeah, I would like way more engine braking. Oh wow, today is the day to go to the church parking lot. Hell yeah. Nobody here. I don't trust the white areas though after that rear wheel fiasco earlier. We are here. Let's check out the 2019 Honda CBR 650R. Not the F, the R. All right. I do gotta say, I like the key. I like the key being here. Reminds me of our Panigale that we're building. Alrighty, guys. You know, just looking at this bike, it's you can tell visually that this bike is the sport model. It looks really sporty, and while I do really love the SV650X because it has this cafe racery looking look, I like this one in the way that it looks like a super sport, but you can get it for a $650 price tag. You know what I mean? Look at the lines in the front. I love that you can see the headers. They've got a little cutout in the fairing. This bike has one of the best stock exhaust visually that I've seen in a really long time. I do wish the rear shock was a different color. I'm not a huge fan of the yellow. I mean, you guys know this is pathetic, but it is what it is. But I think the rear seat looks good. They do have this kind of fake carbon fibery stuff, so I appreciate it. You know, like, ooh, I get carbon fiber, and you don't. You don't get carbon fiber for under 10 grand, my dude. But at least they put it there, so it still looks good. I'm still a huge fan of it. You got dual discs up front. This is not the ABS model. Interesting. Does the rear? I love that we don't have the ABS model here, and I was just slamming on the brakes. Okay, cool. If you're into the looks of sport bikes, this is going to be the 650 bike for you, 100%. Look at the header. Oh, God, man, they did a good job. They did a good job on this. And remember, on the SV650, the brake res was that clear, ugly shit. This is what I was talking about. It's very easy to have just a black box. SV650X should have had that. This is, modern-wise, a solid machine. I do wish these boys and these boys were black. If we had that, would be solid. Yeah, check the exhaust out, guys. Fits in, it's down, it's minimal. Oh, so good, dude. Another thing that I am so appreciative of, look at this. Boom, rear seats off. Boom, rear seats back on. Double checking that it's still there. I am starting to hate these seat things that are all underneath and you got to lay on the damn ground to check it. It's annoying. But regardless, that is the look of the 2019 Honda CBR 650R. Alrighty, let's get this first try finished up, boys and girls. So, final thoughts on the 2019 CBR 650R. I think Honda has made an everyday controllable super sport for the 650 class. while this bike doesn't have quite the engine characteristic that something like a CBR does, or you know, a CBR 600 or an R6, it doesn't quite have those level of engine characteristics. But the way this engine does work makes it better for the majority of riding. So a 600, you know, a CBR 600RR or a R6 or a ZX6R, those bikes are going to be amazing in the mountains and places where you're doing technical riding. But then when you're around town, it's just kind of like meh. You know, the way I used to talk about my old R6 is it's either a 250 if you're not in the rev range, or it's a leader bike if you're inside the power band. And those are the two. It's like Jekyll and Hyde how those bikes are. This bike has those merged together better using the 650 engine. So this is going to be your 650 option if you are more towards that technical riding. If you know, when I started riding, I was a month in, and I was in the mountains, you know, riding technical roads and going back and forth. If that's the type of riding you like, I'm definitely going to push you towards this bike. It just feels like it's made for that. It feels like it's made to ride like a super sport, but it's not going to be terrible doing this type of thing, riding around town. You know, this is going to be a bike that you can use as your daily rider, but you can also have a really good time on the weekends. I would actually push you towards this bike if you were looking for a super sport and you were only wanting to have one motorcycle. Riding super sports around town are not that fun. You know, but then you get them on the highway or you go up to the mountains and you have a phenomenal time. This bike, I feel like, would do you better in one of those situations, and it's going to cost you way less. This bike's under 10 grand, and it can do and feels like a super sport that, you know, super sports cost 12, 13 grand these days. So you could save thousands of dollars, get something like this, and it's going to actually, in my opinion, be a better daily rider for you. So that's kind of where I feel like the CBR 650R sits. Now, if you're in the market for a 650 class bike, just to remind you guys, we are comparing all of them. We're comparing the Ninja 650, the CBR 650R that we have here, and we are also comparing the SV 650X. So we've got a big comparison going on. This is the last one in the class, and the next video that you guys see will be the comparison overview. Which one is the best motorcycle in the class? You guys are gonna have to wait for that video to find out, but if it should be already out if you're watching the day after this video goes live. So click down in the description. There will be a link to a playlist that will get you watching that video. And guys, before we get out of here, got to give it a shout out to my guys over at Mountain Motorsports. As you guys know, I would not be able to do these first rides for you if it wasn't for them. So big high five to them. If you want to check them out, I'll have links down below to where this bike came from. And if you're in the North Georgia area, make sure to stop by. They have a massive freaking inventory. So if anything, you guys can come in and sit on all the bikes that you're thinking about, you know, purchasing, and then get a feel for how the bike feels. That way it kind of helps your purchase decision. And if you do that, if you're going into the store to buy the bikes, make sure to click down below, first ride special pricing. I've worked with Mountain for a long time, and I've worked out a deal. So if you guys go in, you use that code, you can actually save a ton of cash on the bikes that you're going to be purchasing. But anyways, guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. This has been the first ride of Honda's CBR 650R. I appreciate you watching towards the end of the video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel if you're into motorcycle content. If you're watching this video, you're probably into motorcycle content. Ah, God, that clutch. All right, outro crew, I'm out of here. Thanks for getting to the end. You guys know I love you long time. And as always with our comparison series, guys, make sure if you're in the outro crew, you let me know. Outro crew score what? 0 to 10. 0 to 10 score for the outro crew. I will contabulate it. Now, guys, I will let you guys know which bike the outro crew liked more in the comparison video. I appreciate you guys getting to the end, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.